Hey guys, so I'm gonna go over Act 3, Scene 2 really quick because you're gonna spend a lot more time on this on Monday because the majority of this scene is Brutus's speech and then Mark Antony's speech. Mark Antony's speech is most of it. And so you're gonna do an activity on Monday that's very similar to what you did yesterday with the John F. Kennedy speech. And so we'll spend more time going over that later. So this is just kind of me giving you a rough overview of everything that happens, which isn't much. So it's going to be a really short video. So basically, the conspirators agreed to let Caesar have a public funeral, and Brutus's plan is to speak first. So Brutus does get up and speak first, and he gives his reasons for killing Caesar, which is that he was ambitious. That's pretty much his only rationale for killing Caesar. He was too ambitious, so they murdered him. And the plebeians are totally cool with it. They completely support Brutus. They're totally fine with his reasons. They even start shouting for Brutus to be king. So now that Caesar's gone, they say, like, let Brutus become Caesar. So they obviously haven't really learned their lesson, and they didn't really understand the whole point of Brutus's speech and why Caesar is now dead, because they're just going, all right, cool, Caesar's dead. Hey, let Brutus become the new Caesar. So they seem to not really get the point. So once Brutus has done his short little speech, like it's really quick, he begs the plebeians to stay and hear Mark Antony's speech. So that was mistake number one. And so all the plebeians are like, yeah, okay, Brutus, we love you so much. We'll do anything you say. We'll stay and listen to Mark Antony talk. And so Mark Antony gets up there, and without ever saying a word explicitly against the conspirators, he completely turns public opinion against Brutus and Cassius. So basically what he does is he goes over all of the things that Caesar did for the commoners, and then just keeps reiterating, and Brutus and Cassius killed him, and Brutus and Cassius killed him. And every time he does it, he always kind of goes, like, they're honorable men and they're wise and they would know if they're doing the right thing. Like, I don't see how they came to that conclusion, but obviously they're way smarter than we are. And so the plebeians are totally sold on this, and the way that he approaches things. He's very persuasive. He uses a lot of good rhetorical strategies. And just a few of the things that he also does is that he uses Caesar's will as a way to kind of goad the commoners, because essentially what Caesar did was that he left all of his property to the public, and then I think he also left like a tiny bit of money for everyone. It's like a dumb tiny amount of gold, but it completely wins all of the commoners over. Just like this tiny amount of gold that was left in his will. And the other important thing to notice is that Antony uses a lot of verbal irony. I think it's pretty rare for us to see verbal irony in a really recognizable way in literature, but these are really obvious examples. So if you look at line, I think it's 222, Antony's like, don't let me stir you up. I don't want to stir you up and get you angry, but that's obviously exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to get them all stirred up and mad. Like, he's trying to cause chaos. I think he also says something along the lines of, he says that he's no orator, as Brutus is. But obviously his speech is much more persuasive than Brutus's. And whether it has to do with the order and the fact that Brutus went first and Mark Antony went second, and how fickle we can understand the commoners to be, it might just be bad luck. But Antony also gave the much longer speech, which is unquestionable. His speech is much longer than Brutus's is. And it has a much more violent, you'll see how much it affects the commoners in the next scene. So obviously he is an orator. He's very skilled with rhetoric. He's gotten exactly what he wanted the people to do. They're all riled up. They're angry. They're ready to fight. And so he just completely turns them against Brutus and Cassius. So much so that at the end of the scene, we find out that Brutus and Cassius have run away. They just made a sprint for the gates of Rome, and they're gone because they are so afraid of what the commoners are going to do to them now. And we also find out that Octavius has arrived in Rome. And so Antony is going to go link up with him, and they're going to become the new triumvirate, the second triumvirate in Rome. All right, so that's pretty much it. You're going to spend a lot more time on the speeches on Monday, and then you'll read scene 3 on Tuesday, and then we're going to have a mandatory Zoom meeting on Wednesday. And that's when we're going to talk all about Act 3. Pretty much we're going to try to go through the entirety of the first 3 acts in that meeting. It'll only be about 30 minutes. And we also have to cover some rhetoric stuff. I'll post the answers to the John F. Kennedy speech on Monday so that you guys can look at those before you do the same thing to the Brutus and Antony speech, so you have more examples to look at before you approach those ones. And I think that's all I have for you. See you guys. Have a good weekend.